Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you once again for joining us on the United Regional Chamber's weekly update. We try to bring you on some interesting guests and some interesting subjects. And this week, I'm proud to bring on Robert
Rob
Moir.
Moir,
He
he
is the president of Ocean River Institute and bringing a program to Attleboro. As we all know, in Attleboro, we've got a little bit of a flooding
flooding
problem
problem.
with the 10 Mile River, and this is one of the ways that the city is going to combat this. They have partnered with Rob, and Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, first off, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Right. So I'm a former science teacher, and I went into museum work, and then I went back to grad school and did environmental studies and looked at how systems operate, so systems thinking. And I started the Ocean River Institute because I was asked by a number of organizations to build a group of people who were interested in better managing, in this case, the oceans. And it ended up passing a law to protect the oceans. And so now as a teacher, I work with decision makers. And when I go to Washington or Beacon Hill, it's like I'll talk to the environmental person in the office, and it's like a parent-teacher conference where you want to learn the what the legislator could do, and you also want the legislative aide to look good to their boss. But the big thing about improving the ecology and saving nature and sustainability and addressing climate change is it's so complicated. We got to find the right ways in, and there are many different ways in. So this one of our problems is with too much water. And so what the Ocean River Institute was founded in 2007 has been looking a lot into water circulation.
Now, folks here in Attleboro, I know that for a while we went through a drought program, but this is a little bit something different. Today we're going to talk about Attleboro's pocket forest, and it's being planted in Attleboro. And I think I'm going to say the right name here, Rob. Miyawaki.
Yes.
Help me out here.
Okay, so Kira Miyawaki was a Japanese botanist, and he noticed that the trees around the temple were more lush than the trees in the forest. And he figured out that that was because of great diversity of species. And all of the trees have roots that connect to the same fungi, the same mycorrhizal network. And so the strands of the fungi are so small they can touch cells in the tree. And when a tree wants to repair itself, or an enzyme, it's put out on a mycorrhizal network. We call it the wood wide web. And different bacteria prepare that element and make it available for everybody, all the trees. So a Miyawaki forest, because it has a great diversity, will grow 10 times as fast as a forest of just one stand of trees. So it's a great thing for an urban area. We don't have much open space. How to increase in this case, we're looking at having more soil to be more of a sponge to absorb the water. Because if you have an inch of soil, well, a lawn will put down an inch of soil in a year, and a Miyawaki forest will put a few inches down. And if you have 6 inches, that'll absorb 10 inches of rainfall. And that's how much fell in Attleboro back in September 2023.
Well, how will this help us, for instance, with the flooding that comes with the 10 Mile River?
Right. So the idea is what we're planning in O'Connell Field, right near the Capron Zoo, is a pilot. So it's simply to demonstrate how we build a forest, and it's next to the school, so it's an educational resource. So the idea is, and Nick Wiley figured this all out and said, come on down, because we got to build forests where they need to be. And but the only way we can get outside of Attleboro funding is by having a good show of the community turning out and raising the money to buy this little forest, so that we can then have Nick pointed out that in Highland Park, the river flooding requires putting this forest in strategic places along the riversides, so that when the water starts coming up, it goes into the ground and doesn't just spread all over the place. And then he also noticed in Highland Park that we have stormwater that's rushing off the hills and damaging properties. and so there's a need for pocket forests on Highland Park.
Now, how long does a pocket forest take, let's say, to grow?
Great question. So what we're talking about in O'Connell Field is 550 woody plants, and it's the big canopy trees and the mid-level understory trees and viburnums, and then so 5 levels of different woody plants with blueberries and tea and stuff. And so you start with all saplings, and then it's a race to just grow up. And so the early successional trees like the sumacs and the poplars will just take off, and they'll put on 4 feet in 1 year. And he also noticed that in the fields of New England, it takes 100 years to go from field to an old tree to the oaks and ash and maples that we like. And so why not plant them all at once, and you could get there in 20 years. So you immediately start seeing benefits. But with every year, the roots are going down deeper, the trees are growing larger. So it just gets better with time.
And how big of a square footage will this first one be?
Good question. So the first one, the plan is just a 2,000 square foot circular forest. And because the saplings are 18 inches apart, there'll be a fence around that, around the forest, and then there'll be a walkway all the way around the forest, and then a bench or whatever on the outside, so that you can't walk into the forest until it's a few years old after the trees sort themselves out.
And you had mentioned earlier that you want to get the students involved. Why would you want to do that?
Well, there's nothing like planting a tree and then being old and say, hey, I planted that tree. But it's a great ecology lesson. And actually, we came about this because you're saving the right whales off of Massachusetts here, where they come to feed every spring. And the right whales are being hit by ships and entangled in the shipping lines, and those are being addressed. And then there's less phytoplankton in the water, which doesn't make sense to me because we have more nutrient pollution and warmer waters. But it coincides with introducing Roundup, glyphosate, the herbicide, that it times up with when they developed crop seeds that were resistant to that herbicide, and so the spreading increased tenfold. So we think that polluted water is hurting the whales, and the way to stop polluting water is stormwater. The way to stop the stormwater is to build a forest there, to build a pocket forest. And so it's the marine biology class that at the high school that is really interested in this forest and taking the lead on it.
And you mentioned that you'd be looking for volunteers from the public. What would you ask them for?
Well, so one is $50, and we just want to show a lot of names of people supporting it. And also, if you want to actually plant a tree or be part of the planting, then we have to organize all that.
Okay, we seem to have a little camera trouble here. And how many folks do you think would be involved?
I think it takes the city of Attleboro to build a forest, so I want to get everyone involved. And we're putting up a sign. There'll be a fence around, a metal low 4-foot fence. That must be my camera. I'm sorry about that. So I have a fence around, and we can put signage on the fence. And so we want to recognize all the donors, with the large donors being larger print. And so this is why it's so exciting to be talking with the chamber, because you guys are taking the lead on businesses that belong to this. Reeves Company has come forward with a $5,000 gift. Dion Company is giving a substantial gift. So we want to see a lot of participation of donors on the sign. And then when you give on our website, you can see the first name of other donors. The whole idea is to show an outpouring of people involved in this so that we can attract regional and federal monies to build a bigger forest.
And when is this whole process going to start?
So we hope to know how much money we've raised by the end of the year. probably a couple weeks into January. And then that's how much we have to spend on the plants. Mostly we're buying them from Sylvan Nursery that gives the town a discount. And they'll have designed the forest. They order the plants in March, and we plan to plant in April.
And how many plants do you think it's going to take to get this thing going?
550.
That's a pretty succinct number.
But 35 different species. So it's not going to be 550 trees. It could be a lot fewer trees and more shrubs and low growth. But the whole key is to have 35 different species. It doesn't have to be any particular one.
Well, I know in certain parts of Attleboro there was trouble with some bamboo that was creeping onto people's property. And are we going to have trouble with any of those plants?
That could be a problem. So the first 3 years, there's very little maintenance, but one would be to pull out any invasives that come into it. They're so tight together, I haven't seen that be a problem. They've got 2 in Cambridge, or my office is in Cambridge, they've got 2 here, and my home is in Somerville, and they've got 1 there, and I've not seen any problem with invasives. But invasives are invasive, so if the bittersweet gets in there, people will notice it and pull it out right away.
Well, what are going to be some of the other benefits of bringing this to Attleboro, besides the federal money?
Well, the forest is an amenity for the town, so that we can see the great diversity of plants and the great diversity of pollinators, of butterflies that come through because of the diversity of plants. In East Somerville, they put a Milwaukee forest on top of where a building stood, and it's now a stopover place for the migratory birds going to the Mount Auburn Cemetery. So it brings in more wildlife. It's also an opportunity for the students in the community to see how a forest develops over time. So there's a lot of great natural history education going on there.
Now, have you been to the site where they're going to put this up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I visit on a regular basis. So it's right on the old diamond, the old baseball diamond right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Why would we take away a sports field to do this?
It's no longer being used as a sports field. So the town recommended this as the place since it's no longer being used as a sports field, and it's just going to be off the corner there. So most of the open space, it will take up less than a fifth of the field, of O'Connell Field. Yeah.
Okay.
It's only 2,000 square feet. Yeah.
Well, as we come to a close, what final thoughts do you have for us, Rob?
Well, please come visit our site, www.oceanriver.org, and please sign up for our free newsletter to get into the news. And also think about making us a modest contribution, because we just want to show an outpouring of people. And this will be a wonderful forest for all of us to enjoy for years to come. So I ask that you consider an acorn donation for an oak tree. Watch your acorns become oak trees. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today. Thank you to the team over there at AACS, Jim Jones and his guys, who put up with me every week. We truly appreciate it. So hopefully we'll see you again next week, folks. Please, everybody, stay safe. Rob, see ya.
Bye-bye. Thank you.